It's the Alfie Brown Show. It's back for another week, the penultimate podcast before Christmas. And I hope you've all been doing a lot of Christmas shopping. It's always difficult, particularly if you hate going outside and the internet. Then you really are in trouble. But if you are okay with, if you hate just the whole nightmare of going outside and shopping and the anxiety and the trade-off, obviously you're not going to be as good at knowing what somebody wants as they are, and they aren't going to be as good at knowing what you want as you are. So there's a lot of risk involved at Christmas. And then everybody asks, what would you like? And if everybody's got as much money as each other, then you end up just going shopping for each other and hiding the fact that you've done that. Or you get something that you didn't choose yourself, that perhaps you wouldn't have chosen at all, but now that you possess it. That's the skeptic's view of Christmas time. But there's also, I suppose, if I was to try and reframe it with an optimistic mindset, then I might say, actually, you're getting something that you didn't know that you wanted, or that you wouldn't have bought. I would never buy myself a nice bottle of olive oil, but when I have a nice bottle of olive oil, it's so great to have a nice bottle of olive oil. But left to my own devices, it is not the sort of thing that I would ever have dreamed of spending money on, because it's just not who I am. Do you see? But very happy to be in possession of it. Maybe I would have gone into a shop and seen a jumper and gone, no, that wouldn't look good on me. But my mother, in her ever caring need to keep me warm, might see that jumper and think that would look good on my boy, my son. My pride and joy, my favourite son, that would look good on him. And then she'll go and she'll buy it for me. And I'll, oh wow, it does look good on me. Oh, what a surprise that you knew something. Of course, the people around you can see you a lot more easily than you can, can't they? Because they're not possessed with the sort of tormenting hallucination that insecurity can cause. You might see yourself and think, well, I look appalling. But that's because you can only see the sort of spot that's just there on my face, if you're me. But you, not being me, might be able to look at the nice things about me. You might notice, what is there nice that's about me? I don't particularly like my hair at the moment, but you might, because you might be viewing it in a different way, because you are not me, and this other eye that people can lend to your person at Christmas time might be nice. It might be a photo that you've put in a frame that you would never have thought that would look good. That would make my house a home. But a lot of the time, the panic sets in, and you actually just end up buying scented candles and sort of shit chocolate again. And then the people who are closest to you stare at you, just having received a gift, thinking, you don't know me at all. Do you even love me? And then, of course, you've got the competitive present buying for your children. If you have, your children might have grandparents, and those grandparents might be competitive in their urge to win some of their grandchildren's love. This isn't actually something that happens so much with me, but they might think, oh, I must win some love with perhaps an array of Beyblades or some such thing. And also everybody just wants everybody to be happy. And I actually, having spoken to my mum about it the other day, don't think this is something that exists too much in my family, fortunately. But there is an element of it. I've certainly spoken to other parents who definitely know this to be a thing. And then you end up with a house that's more full of shit than it was at a previous Christmas. More plastic stuff that will be on the planet and be ruining a vista somewhere long after you are dead, failing to assimilate back into the earth with the same degree of complicity that your body will. Wow. Merry Christmas, though. Jesus Christ. Where did all that come from? Fucking hell. I really didn't think that was good. I don't know what's the matter with me. I apologise for that. A bleak bit of... What's the opposite of cheer? A bleak bit of Christmas harumph. I quite like Christmas. I'm going to cook for my family, and that's another thing. Much like you might try and win some love with buying presents, you can, as I mentioned last week, win some favour by feeding the people that you love. And not winning favour, but there's something very satisfying about nourishing those around you with nice food and seeing them gratified by the hard work that you've put into something. So I've been looking at a lot of recipes, how to make Brussels sprouts nice. You can tell a lot about the Christmas cook from what they do with the Brussels sprouts. What are you going to do? Like toss them in balsamic and pine nuts and, then cook them halfway and then smash them. Surface area, caramelize, blah, blah, blah. What are you going to do with the Brussels? We can all make a roast potato nice, unless we're dicks, Chop, boil, fucking drain them, beat them up a little bit so they go a little bit fluffy on the exterior. Heat the oil until it's fucking boiling hot, then drop the roast potatoes in there and, turn them a bit of rosemary for remembrance. There's rosemary. Any fans of Victoria Wood will be very happy with what I've just done. Of course, it was the finale of the Formula One World Racing Championships today, where Max Verstappen took on Lewis Hamilton in what can only be described as a motor race, a motor car race. We went car racing, Toto. And I understand, listener, friend of the podcast, my friends who are listening and watching, that you might not be somebody who cares about Formula One. And do you know what? More power to you, because that you might have done something else, like gone outside today, seen a friend in a pub. Maybe you went on a train somewhere and took a day trip for a wintry walk on a beach where the rain flew in sideways at quite a rate and stung your face as the wind blew you from side to side and ruffled up your waterproof jacket as you persevered on your coastal walk before you got back home and were gratified, cold, wet, but comforted by the warmth at home. And home never felt more like home than when you got back after that walk, because you were sated. The coffee or the tea tasted better. It was warmer. It was a richer experience. And the peanut butter on toast that you had as an accompaniment as you chewed it, and then you sort of washed the sediment down with the tea. You never felt more at home than when you got home after that walk. You could have been doing that, but I wasn't. I was watching the Formula One racing. And I won't bore you with the details, but I will tell you that there was a kerfuffle at the end. Formula One is one of these sports like rugby, which is sort of borderline unwatchable, because not even the people who are enforcing the rules know the rules, which just means that everybody's always upset. It's just a chaotic, shitty nightmare the whole time. Everybody always feels hard done by, because the rules are so incredibly fucking subjective, and there's rules that contradict rules. Like there's one rule that says that you can't drive somebody off the track, but then what is the track, and are you really doing it, and how do you check? And maybe I was taking the turn an interesting way, and did you gain an advantage by doing that? And or all of this sorts of shit. One of the other rules in the rule book is if the race director says it wasn't, and it doesn't matter what the rule is. So all of the rules are basically voided by this final rule, which is if the race director says it wasn't bad, it wasn't bad. So just shut up and fuck off, will you? Please. Will you at Mercedes? And the big... All of these people, these Formula One fans who are now complaining because the result was unjust, which it was, so they're not wrong. But just, what were you expecting? It's Formula One. What did you think it was? What misapprehension were you labouring under that meant that you thought you were going to get a brilliant... It's like people going to the pantomime and going, oh, this has gotten a bit silly now, I think. This pantomime's gotten a little bit silly for my liking. It's Formula One. It's a chaotic nightmare. It's people wearing rainbow helmets in Saudi Arabia. It's people racing these absolutely mad cars. It's the most lavish, and it's the privilege of the rich to be able to train to do it in the first place, because they're the only people who can train up to be able to do it. I think there's like 2 drivers who are from backgrounds that weren't... It's mad that any of it exists. So what did you expect? People always describe it as a sport. Now, I like it, but it's not a sport. It's car racing. How could that be a sport? Some people call snooker a sport. It isn't a sport. And also the cars, like there's teams with loads of money who have been spending loads of money for ages, and there are teams that have not had any money to spend on their cars. So there are shit cars and there are good cars. And this is something that people who don't like F1 always use to bring it down, or to describe why they think it's stupid. And it's become a bit of a cliche and a bit boring for people to go, oh yeah, well, they should all just be racing in the same car. But you're claiming something that isn't... You're claiming the thing that you know is unfair for different Well, I don't mind it being unfair in those terms, but I do mind it being unfair like this. I suppose it's unfair that Man City have £1 million, billion, trillion and Brentford don't, and then... Man City is still allowed to complain that they didn't get a penalty. So maybe I'm full of shit. Anyway, I wanted to see something that was exciting. And Max Verstappen, who is the world champion Formula One, is this little kind of rat-faced man. And Lewis is fine. He barely even seems like a kind of human being. He seems so... They all kind of seem relatively kind of robotic and inhuman. The big drama was between the 2 team captains, which is Toto Wolff and Christian Horner. Christian Horner, who is married to Jerry Halliwell, to give her name that isn't Ginger Spice. And Toto Wolff, who is like he's like an action hero. He should be in the Expendables. He is this big, like in the world of the short men, he is really tall, and he is a big daddy who is very fuckable to everybody who has eyes, and he makes good points. And Christian Horner, it's like he'd be short for a Formula One driver, and he was never fast enough to be like Toto Wolff couldn't be a Formula One driver because the car was weighed down by the size of his dick and his big arms, his big hugging arms, his big you're secure, you're safe now because Toto is here. He's like his name. He's the most masculine man in the world, and his name is Dorothy's dog. He's superseded everything Toto Wolff. I mean, it sounds like a kind of contradiction in terms, his name, doesn't it? Toto. Oh, Dorothy's dog. Wolf. Oh, maybe Dorothy's dog was a little bit more than I reckoned for. Yes, it was. It was a little bit more than you reckoned for. I'm Toto Wolff. Toto is, we're not in Kansas anymore. So I love Toto Wolff, and I'd love for him to just... If somebody had to give me a bed bath, I'd like for it to be Toto Wolff. If I was in a position where I needed a bed bath, I'd like Toto Wolff to be, "You're clean now. Don't worry. Do you want me to read you a story? Okay. Little Miss Naughty was very naughty. She was always getting into trouble." Okay, so there you go. And that's all I have to say on the matter. And I don't really think any of it was of too much consequence, but I really enjoy Formula One, but I've only liked it for the last 5 years. So I know that I like it like I like a soap opera. I've never engaged with it as a sport. So whenever anybody goes, "Oh no, it's not sporting, this is just ridiculous," I just wanted good drama. I was watching it for drama. I wasn't watching it because I thought, "Oh, what a brilliantly fair and even playing field these guys are all on," you know? That's all I had to say about that. And I feel sorry for Christian Horner. Well, not anymore. He's the world champion again. I've done gigs this week. That's what else I've done. That's what I've been getting on with. Did gigs in Bristol. Loads of great comedians on, actually. There are so many good new comedians, and I don't like it at all. And I don't know why it is, or whether there's just an advancement of people. I suppose these things move along, so the base level for where things start, or the things that it took my generation of comedians time to discover are now apparent. So there's no need for these people to discover them. They just come in straight away. But there's such a level of wit, and also more than anything else, and this is also what I spent a good 10 years of my career floundering in wet shit trying to discover, was some form of identity. Whereas they've all identity is job one for these new comedians. I mean, that's what's so important so much of the time. But I mean, that's not to say that it's all style over substance, identity over substance. It's not always the case, although that sometimes is the case, even with a lot of people who seem to have wound up on TV, which is fine, I suppose, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't matter to me. They're not taking my place. I'll do whatever I will. Opposite the gig in Bristol that I did, there was a production, an amateur theatre production in a church of a play by Edward Albee called The Goat, brackets, or Who is Sylvia? And it was in a church. The Goat by Edward Albee, which I saw as a play when I was about 17 years old. So, almost half my life ago. I was 17 years old. I went to go and see The Goat, or Who is Sylvia, with Jonathan Pryce and Eddie Redmayne as Jonathan Pryce's son, who was American, but Jonathan Pryce played it English. And it's about him falling in love with a goat. So he's a married man with this son in his late teens, this really kind of charismatic American, beautiful gay son who is quite suspicious of his father, a wife who plays quite a traditional kind of wife role to Jonathan Pryce, who is a professor, I think, and is again quite a traditional patriarch. And what happens in the play is he starts fucking a goat. he sees this goat called Sylvia in a field, and he starts fucking the goat. And then the family finds out, "You're fucking a goat." That's what Eddie Redmayne said. Over and over again. "You're fucking a goat. You're fucking a goat." It was really irritating, actually. And Jonathan Pryce's character, I can't remember the name, goes, yes, but it's not just fucking. We're in love. And because he's such a brilliant actor, he gives a convincing portrayal of a man who is in love with a goat. It is trying to tell you the earnest feeling of love. He is trying to communicate his love for this goat who he is fucking. He describes it, and I saw there was something in her eyes. It's a surreal. It's it's an absurd play, not surreal. Sorry. It's what it's trying to do is trying to. In the same way that we might feel some degree of alienation or removed from love between people or things that we see, it's trying to make us feel empathy and feel for and with somebody experiencing a love that we can't understand. So whilst we can't understand the love, we can empathize with it. And with the changing experience of sexuality throughout the 20th, not changing, but the societal tumult caused by people trying to get equality, I think what the playwright was trying to do there was give us all the impression, every human being, that love could be. You can empathise with love without understanding it. I'm not sure. I spoke to somebody about it, and this is not necessarily totally what I got at the time as a 17-year-old, but I remember reading about it, that was the case. Anyway, at the end of it only amused me because it was happening in a church, and it's all about fucking a goat, and there's a really good scene in it where Jonathan Pryce talks about bouncing his newborn baby, the Eddie Redmayne character, on his knee and being so happy and in love with his baby that he got an erection. But he was saying it wasn't an erection out of lust or an erection because he was horny. It was just an erection from joy. It was something his body did wrongly, but it was for the right. It had a driving force through it that was the love that he was feeling. So it's almost like his body's urges were confused by the emotion and kind of offered him, "Oh, you need the erection." "Oh, no, not for this. This is just my baby on my lap. It's a different kind of love. Don't worry about it, though. Thank you very much for the erection, but I won't be using it. It's very kind of you, though." And I thought that was it's a cool scene, isn't it? Saying like, I don't know, but it is cool. Well, brave, I guess. Anyway, then at the end, the wife murders the goat. Spoiler alert. She cuts Sylvia's head off because, of course, she feels betrayed. Not only because he's furking a goat, but because he's having an affair and he's in love with not someone else, but something else. So she drags the goat's head, bleeding from the neck all over their kind of nice tufted shag rug, and screams, "Is this what it was all for?" Like by the horns of the goat. "Is this what this was all for? What have you done, Sylvia?" And he cradles the head of the goat whilst weeping in his hands. "Sylvia, no! It's really. Can you be moved by that? Can you be moved by his lost love, is what the playwright is asking you, I suppose. But anyway, my point was, in a church, amused me. Okay? It amused me. What else do I need? I need to get my booster jab. Very important to get our booster jabs, you see. Okay? It might not affect you. You might be absolutely all right. You might not need a booster jab at all. There might be absolutely no chance that you die. You might be in fine fettle, good health. What lungs you've got. What a strong heart that beats your blood around your body with innate ease. Your heart might be the envy of all other hearts. Your lungs might be clean as a whistle. You might be fit. You might be Kipchoge fit, or and be able to run a marathon in an alarmingly short amount of time. But you still need to get your motherfucking booster, okay? Because it's not about whether or not you're in danger. You need to get your booster, so as soon as the virus enters your body, you can kill it with the heightened immunity that you have. The antibodies that you have in your system will kill the virus quicker, so there's less time for you to spread it, so the virus doesn't get to mutate into something else that it can maybe evade the vaccine, or that is vaccine resistant is what they is the language they use, isn't it? I was searching for it. I couldn't immediately find it, but I did in the end. Need to get the booster. Also, it's not a booster. It's just it's merely another dose of vaccine. It's just the one that they didn't originally take. So they're calling it a booster, and I'm not sure it's really helped. I'm not sure people are going, oh, I would love a booster. People just think, I don't need a booster. You need a third dose. It's just that we only spoke about 2 doses initially. Turns out we need a third. This is the best way. You don't want them shutting down my job again. Maybe I'm being selfish, Maybe I'm just being selfish. But, I do think it's probably better if we'd like people to not die. It would be really good. Sorry. I've got some herbal tea going on. I think that the necessity for the booster is 10. Okay? That's just my opinion, though. Sorry. I understand that the crime of dead air is twice when you're doing a solo podcast, but needs must for that moment in the middle. I apologise. I don't edit the thing because I like it to be as in the moment as it can possibly be, and as honest as it can possibly be, and a recital of the experience of me recording the podcast in as honest terms as I can possibly make it. But that does mean when I have a burp lurking at the depth of my esophagus, I do need a moment like that. And then to gather myself and to work out what I was in fact saying about the booster. But that's all I had to say. And I joined a gym. I've joined a new gym. You can tell, based on what gym you join, what kind of gym it is. I could just by the person who's showing me around, I could guess what brand of gym it is. I think sort of nervous people who seem like they must never work in sales. Hello, good to see you. Yeah, hello. Where are you from? Oh, I'm from nowhere. I just have a sort of nondescript pan-European voice. Well, thank you. I'd like to join the gym. Shock. You don't want to look around? No, I'd just like to join the gym if that's all right. Baffled. They like a fish had sort of used its own flipper to pierce the roof of its mouth with your hook and then just waggle it about. Oh, you caught me. I've just sent the hook into my kind of into my brain area through the roof of my mouth for you, if you'd like to gut me and cook me. No convincing? No, nothing like this? No, I just like to join the gym, please, just as quick as you could humanly do it. And joining a new gym is always a good thing to do, I think, because it's one of these aspirational, you think, I'll spend the money and then my life will become better. And you can actually make yourself feel a lot better about who you are and what you are just by the nod of your hat towards the thing that you want to improve. It's the same with buying books, or when you go into the travel section of a bookshop and you think, if I just bought the book on Peru, I'd go to Peru. That's as good as going to Peru. I could be as cultured as somebody who's been to Peru by buying the Lonely Planet Guide on Peru. These are good ideas. By going to the gym, you make a promise to the world that this is a new. And of course, I haven't been to this new gym yet. I only joined the other day. But in the days, I think, well, when I start the new gym, I can start eating healthier. So needless to say, I've eaten only shit since I joined the gym. I've been eating like winter is coming. Eating like I need insulation. Eating like there might be a shortage at some stage soon. Like I'm attempting to put on weight for an upcoming fight that I'm in. So maybe it's counterintuitive. Maybe this false sense of security that joining the gym has furnished me with. But I'll keep everybody all up to date with what goes on with me and my gym exploits. I mean, I won't keep you up to date. I can't imagine hearing about anything more boring than somebody talking about their sodding gym experience. It's what a lot of podcasts consist of, though, isn't it? So, what are you working with at the moment? Well, I'm doing the kettlebells. I think the squat thrust is pretty much the perfect exercise. The kettlebell throw is again the perfect and complete exercise. Oh wow! So how many times a day are you eating? I'm eating once a day, and I should have forgotten where I'm from now. But thank you very much. It's obsession. There's an obsession with it. Absolute obsession. About improvement. Somebody asked me to talk about self-help books this podcast, and I don't think I've ever read one, but I suppose what is a self-help book? A self-help book is just glitzy mass marketing. It's like for, I suppose, early Aristotelian philosophy, and then especially Stoic philosophy after that, was basically self-help, wasn't it? Self-help was, the Stoic philosophy was, think clearly. You can train your brain in the same way that you can train your body. We can train ourselves into habits. We can train ourselves into certain ways of thinking, certain ways of being. We are in control of ourselves. To think, I mean, this sounds a lot like what then later became, and obviously there are kind of crucial differences between these schools of thought, but then phenomenology in the 19th century would have been like the Heidegger thing, the Husserl would have gone on about phenomenology being the study of phenomena and keeping in your brain the experience of each phenomena. You exist, and therefore the phenomena that occurs through you, and your perception of it is, and to live like that and to be present with the changing phenomena and to engage with the world around you is the best way to live. If you let the phenomena pass you by, then that isn't being alive in the proper sense, which then Sartre read, and that became existentialism, which is sort of the same thing, which is we exist and our existence precedes our essence, which is to exist precedes what we can make ourselves be, what we are, I think. Jesus Christ. And then and then this is mindfulness, isn't it? And mindfulness is just sort of a dumb word we've given to these years of philosophy, all the way back to Aristotle and the Stoics. How do we achieve eudaimonia, which would have been what they called a good life, a life well lived to them? Well, it's by engaging our mind. We have like 3 different parts of our mind. We have our old, like the bit of our brain that's been there since we were fish or reptiles, fish then reptiles. Then we've got the middle bit, which is the mammal, like, vibing brain, our chimp brain, which would be our instinctual decisions. And then our frontal cortex bit, or the front bit of our brain, I don't know what the fuck it's called. That's our bit that goes, I am thinking, and I am wearing a t-shirt, and I have a perception of myself and who I am and others and how they come across, and the wide-ranging tapestry of human emotions, and the huge spectrum of human emotions that I can experience. And not only can I experience them, but I can sort of experience my experience of them with some form of, I perceive myself and what I feel. And that is mindfulness. You engage that bit of your brain. Stop start engaging your thoughts. Start engaging the most advanced bit of your brain to make key decisions, to change your habits. If you can summon the wherewithal to be aware of what you are, and that's basically what all self-help books are, isn't it? This whole mindfulness thing. Eat mindfully. Yum. That's a lot of chews on that bit of food. And then you achieve maximum mastication, and then it goes down and it's more easily digested because of the enzymes in your spit have broken it down, and there's no big lumps, and your stomach hates when you send down big lumps of food without having chewed them properly. And it goes, oh, but you fucking serious? Is it all this huge fucking lump of spaghetti here is still spaghetti? I haven't chewed it, and I'm gonna have to break this down now. And your stomach gets exhausted, and then becomes inflamed or something with all the shit that you, and then you get eye bags and eczema, whatever happens. So, but if you do it mindfully, you go chewing, and then you chew. Then the stomach says, really, thank you very much indeed. And if you get angry because somebody has cut you up on the road, you could sort of actually, instead of you involving your chimp brain and go, I feel furious with you because I was on my route. I had my planned way of going about this journey, and you have interrupted it. And not only that, but I sort of feel like you've put me in danger, and my response to being in peril is to feel anger. But I suppose if you engaged mindfulness, or your frontal brain bit, or you tried to analyze what it is to coexist with the person that is in that car, you might have massaged your empathy faculty into thinking that perhaps they aren't a fucking bastard who needs to die immediately, but just another person trying to go about their busy life. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that's what was going on all that time. So self-help books at the same time, like as soon as I see somebody reading a self-help book, I go, well, I mean, you're reading a self-help book. How much help could you possibly need? If you can get it together to buy a self-help book and read a self-help book and implement the lessons of the self-help book, you probably didn't need a self-help book. Self-help books are needed by those who aren't reading self-help books. If you're getting it together to read all these things and go, I must implement these great habits, I must be more mindful. All these things that you might instinctually feel, like disgust. Why do we feel disgust ever? You look at some maggots, or you see some poo on somebody's hands, or somebody's breath smells, or anything that you might make you feel disgusted, sweaty hair, the smell of BO. It's always to do with disease, mold. It's always to do with seeing, with your evolutionary wired response to wanting to avoid disease. So your disgust reflex is to help you not become diseased. It is helpful to. I don't think I have a great disgust reflex. Not a lot disgusts me. So maybe that's being mindful in the wrong way. That's what I mean. Is that it's actually probably fine to be. I'll just wash it. I don't have. Maybe I'm missing something because my disgust reflex isn't quite on the money and up to scratch with other people's. My other big problem with self-help books is that it suggests that you are the problem, and you might not be. It might be like the world. It might be a bit fucked. Like the system. It might not be fair, but selling the dream that you can be, working 4 hours a week, or that anybody can do this, but you need to buy my stuff and further my own desire to have a private yacht in return, strikes me as bollocks. I mean, like anything, I think there are probably going to be really good self-help books and really shit self-help books. I generally think there are just too many books, and I think there should be about 5 years now where we just stop. Releasing books. So no books, no more books. Nobody gets to release another book for the next 5 years, and just give us all a fucking chance to catch up, would you? Maybe I need to learn some better habits. Maybe I need to go on a podcaster's self-help course. I don't know what to write at the moment either. Bizarre thing when I've got other shows coming up at the end of January, the 26th to the 29th of January. It's my show Sensitive Man, so it's been written, and then I'm taking it on tour, and then hopefully taking it elsewhere, but more to come on that later. I am. So I've got the show written. The show's done. The show's finished. So now, when I go to a new material night, there's a sense of like, well, what am I going to write about? What's important? And there's the anxiety involved in seeing the blank page, the blank canvas with just, well, what do I care about? And also, when you've finished writing a show, there is a sense that how on earth did you do that? Not because I'm so brilliant and I can't believe how brilliant my show was, but how did it even get to that? How did it get to a point whereby there was a finished show? What did I do again? What steps did I take? What was my routine? If I was going to write a self-help book to myself, that's probably the most helpful self-help book that you could read, is the one that you write. Because if you really tried to engage honestly with yourself about where your deficiencies are, there's no way you don't know where you're shit. You know what you need to do. Everybody knows what they need to do, unless you're fucking Tim Ferriss and you go, by the way, just, don't worry about having a binge day. Just do loads of air squats and then drink grapefruit juice. Is that what you're supposed to do? I like his stuff on language learning, though. Don't worry about, all the stuff that you do in your daily work is, 95% pointless. So that's why you should outsource it to like a digital personal assistant. You should be paying somebody in the Philippines £5 a day to do all the shit that you can't be bothered to do. And the person in the Philippines is reading a self-help book about how to earn more than £5 in a day and not have to outsource your time in your life, your one life that you fucking get, to some fuck pig who's read the Tim Ferriss book and wants you to, do your Mavis Beacon touch typing course so you can work more efficiently for them, because their fucking stupid headphone startup company isn't taking in quite the way that they'd want. So they've got to cut costs and have Mei Ling from the Philippines. I don't know what people from the Philippines are called. I'm so sorry about what I just said. But maybe that's what I should talk about. Maybe all these are good things to talk about. Self-help books. I'm going to develop that. I'm going to start talking about self-help books on stage and see where that gets me. I've already talked about Formula One on stage. I'd quite like to talk about going to the gym, purely because it's such a completely... It seems necessary, but also completely fucked. That people go, going to seeing people exercise. First of all, people hate seeing people exercise, or hate people who talk about exercising, mainly when they don't exercise themselves, because it's people see it as virtue signaling or somehow braggadly that somebody's trying. People don't like seeing other people try to improve, unless they're reading a self-help book, because that just looks pathetic. But the gym feels like a necessity. Like, we want to be healthy, we want to be happy, and given that we're a sedentary people now, the gym seems like a good way to get what your daily life won't give you anymore. So good for the gym. People fucking hate it. I remember a comedian tweeting once, I fail to remember meeting somebody who takes protein shakes that isn't a boring shit. Like, this is protein, it's like vitamin C, but if you've been going to the gym, I don't understand. Like, people always think if Nietzsche wouldn't have done it, then it's not cool. Or Tom Waits didn't take protein shakes. Who cares? He didn't have to, like, all of the things that make everybody so exposed and uncool now, people wouldn't have done because they didn't have to. Life was cooler. Also, they all drank water because they felt, I haven't drunk water today. Everybody who's cool they all thought that at some point. They all thought, oh shit, I need to drink some water. I haven't drunk any water. I feel dry. As do I. No natural wine tasting today, sadly. But watch this space. So the gym, I'll talk about that on stage. Talk about self-help books on stage. Do we still... I don't know what people want from comedy anymore, to be honest. Like, do you want it... There seems to be with this... The comedy that is more steeped in identity than it was. People say, oh yeah, people just want identity stuff. They don't want it to be funny. And they do want it to be funny. It's just what being funny entails, or being funny to who. And I think because there are more... It's like, oh yeah, well, you couldn't go in there and do those jokes in Cannock, just north of Birmingham, on a Tuesday night in their local leisure centre. And you go, yeah. That's what old comedians always say about new comedians. Yeah, but you couldn't do it somewhere shit in front of like people who don't like comedy, could you? And you go, no. But do you want to? Is that what you want to be able to do? I'm not saying that the people in Cannock on a Tuesday night at the local leisure centre are less deserving of comedy. I'm just saying just because they don't get something or like something doesn't mean that it isn't good. Just because something that perhaps only works in front of more cosmopolitan audiences doesn't make it bad. But there is a lot of there is still shit. There is still bad shit. Bad people doing bad shit. But people are winning favour by saying the right thing. And if you can say the right thing, that's more important than saying the funny thing a lot of the time in these cosmopolitan areas. But it's about it finding a way, isn't it? It's about it finding its place. It's about comedy finding its balance between these two things. And comedy shouldn't just be about being funny either. That's something that other kind of older comedians, we're just clowns. It's just our job to be funny. No, it's not. It's just that comedy is just a method through which the ideas flow. It's not just about being fucking funny, is it? Obviously not. Otherwise we'd all just like doing funny faces and throwing colourful balls and pretending to fall over and pissing ourselves and farting like that. What if it was just about being funny? Content or depth or fucking anything, nothing, none of it would, all of that would be other, wouldn't it? It's not. It's about ideas, and it's about moral kind of or self-excavation, or excavating ideas and testing the limits of ideas and where they can go, and social satire and all of these sorts of things. And if humour can move through those things, then maybe it's worth more, or maybe it's worth something different. It's an art form. It's not just funny for funny's sake. Well, what's that? It's a little bit closer to dead. Ha 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 ha. What was funny? Just anything. Who even really knows what was funny? I don't know. Right. I'm winding this up now. Today's podcast. I think I'm going to try and do... watch out on the YouTube channel. If you listen to this podcast, please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, because there is some stuff happening this week on the YouTube. If you're watching it on YouTube, then well done. If you're not subscribed, then do. And that's 26th to 29th at the Soho Theatre in London. Please buy tickets. Then going on tour, please find the venue nearest to you and come to a show. Please leave a positive review on iTunes. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Like if you're not liked. Comment, why not, on what a dildo I am. This has been the Alfie Brown Show. And I'll see you next week. If not before. Teaser. Thanks very much indeed. Have pleasant weeks, everybody. Goodbye.